Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Supernatural and Beyond. And once again, I'm Tony Wilson, and this is my good friend and co-host, Adrian Wright. How you doing, Adrian?
I'm great, Tony. I'm excited to be here with you. I'm excited to be here with our viewers and listeners, and just to share a brief history of time and space.
This is such a vast topic to try to cover in such a short period of time, so we want to break it off into bite-sized pieces. As you can see right here, there's tons of resources and information that we can go through. They would take hours to lay out in an educational or academic setting. That's not what the purpose is here today.
Yes.
Today we're here to just share some information and some ideas with you.
Yes, and we want to keep it fun and interesting at the same time. So,
exactly.
You know.
So let's just jump right into it.
Right into it.
All right. Now, in the scriptures, the holy text, there is a very famous saying, and that saying is, in the beginning, God, and depending on what version you read, different names for God, created the heavens and the earth.
Right.
Okay, so that's Genesis 1, verse 1. All right. In the second verse, it said the earth was a waste and a void. And to me, that doesn't really make sense. Why would you create something only to be in a mess? Have you found that to be true, or?
Well, my research, I have found, like when, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and out of the creation, the earth was formed without shape, and it was kind of formed empty. So from my understanding and my research, as it was created, it was without form and it was void, it was empty.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm doing my research in the ancient Hebrew. There's a word. Now, I'm not very good at Hebrew.
Yeah, I butcher words too. All the time.
I'm not even going to try to explain the word, but the word that is used there, it says, and the earth became a waste and a void, which is a lot different from the world was void and without form.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but with my research too, I also looked at the Hebrew, and it looked like the word that I found, the translation that I found, was with. Mm-hmm. When the earth was created, it was without void. Without form, and it was void. So it was created into, without form and without void. And then the next few days of creation, God formed the land, he formed the water, he divided it, Mm-hmm. Well, so that was my understanding.
Well, yeah, that's why we're doing this podcast, is so that we will be able to, explore some of those different ideas. A lot of languages have one word will have several different meanings. Right. We being born in a Western mindset, we've kind of got one word, one meaning, but in other cultures, did you know that in amongst the Eskimos, there's like 173 versions for the word snow?
No, I didn't know that, but for Eskimos, they live in the snow.
Yeah, so. Exactly. So bringing all of this together, as I understand it from my research, that the world became a waste and a void. Okay. Now, what I believe happened, again, based on some of the research and some of the legends throughout the world from different cultures, that there was what I like to refer to as when God created the heavens and the earth, there were what I call celestial beings. We use the word angels a lot. Right. Again, that's one of those words that has different meanings, and one of the meanings is messenger.
Right. And what I found is with, angels or messengers, is it wasn't just one type. What I found was there was many different types.
Many different, chorus of angels, right.
Right. And they're even, some of them are even named, but I feel like there's maybe thousands of different types.
Without going too far on a rabbit trail, I have experienced the multitude of what I like to say call celestial beings, which is why I call them celestial beings, that were created, that were not and have not been mentioned in written form. However, through different experiences, you're shown these things so that you'll get a better understanding.
Supernatural experiences.
There you go. I like that. Yeah. Supernatural experiences. So that being said, what I believe happened, there are other in other parts of the scriptures, I'm talking about the Bible, there was a time when the rebellious cherub, that's one of the courses of the angels,
Right.
rebelled against the Creator.
Right.
Now, we know that that rebellious cherub was Satan himself.
Right. That's
And-
what I heard. That's my research.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good. So we're connecting on a lot of different points here. What happened was when he got kicked out of heaven, well, I should say before he got kicked out of heaven, he came to the celestial beings that were actually occupying the earth before mankind showed up. Then he talked him into believing that he could overthrow the creator of heaven and earth. I don't know where he got that idea, but hey, what are you going to do?
This is very good information, and I'm glad you're sharing this because I'm starting to see it from your point of view. And basically, my question is: you're saying that these beings, like, they're kind of supernatural. They are supernatural,
Right.
But from my understanding, they exist in like what I would call a spiritual realm, which is outside of a physical realm.
Outside our time and space continuum.
Exactly.
Yes.
But would you say that these spiritual beings from the beginning, angels, what have you,
Yes.
would have been on the earth and occupying the physical realm of the earth? And that was even before man. That's what you're saying, basically?
No, basically, that's exactly what I'm saying. Again,
That's interesting. Yeah.
based on my research,
Right.
and that information is changing constantly. The more that I read, the more that's being added to, and I've had to actually change my paradigm as to, okay, well, I used to believe it was like this, but based on this information,
Right.
now I have to make a shift or stay in the path that may not be the most accurate.
Right.
I'm striving for accuracy.
Yeah, me too. And from my understanding, I haven't actually, from my research too, I haven't actually thought about them or even looked into them being on the physical earth. From my understanding, they were, before time was even created. They were with the Creator because they were created first. Before
Right, exactly.
Before I would say time, space, and matter was created, they were there. And I feel like that that by the time that mankind, our species, was created, that's what caused that fallen one, the leader of all the
Satan,
fallen ones, Satan,
yeah.
Satan himself. I feel like he got jealous. And I think the book of Enoch refers even to that jealousy, is that's when he got mad because humans were originally created to have dominion over even those beings. And so we were supposed to be closer to the Creator than he was. And he was like number one in charge of worship in heaven, worship of the Creator, and then we came around. And then this guy, or not guy, but this being got really upset at the human race. And then he started his rebellion.
Well, that's exactly it.
Okay, yeah.
So we're on the same page, and a lot of the research again will show and bear out that Satan did in fact get jealous, and that's why when we skip ahead to Genesis chapter 3, the fall of humankind or mankind, it shows him actually tempting or trying to persuade God's creation into rebelling with him. They were given one instruction: do not eat of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
And that was the one thing that he kept pushing because he wanted to push the rebellion or the disobedience.
Right.
The question has been asked, how old is the earth? There are some people say that it's billions and billions upon billions of years old. Others have said it's, maybe closer to maybe 5, 6, maybe even 7,000 years old. And Adrian, I know that this is pretty much one of the things that you've been studying on. So
Right.
I'm just going to throw the ball in your court and let you take it.
Well, thank you, Tony, and welcome back, everybody. Yeah, and so, I believe that the Earth is only about maybe 6,000, 7,000 years old due to my research.
So what research gives you 6,000, 7,000 years?
Well, there's a few things. Okay, so number one, the books that I've read, like this one, that's helped me out a lot. What on Earth is About to Happen for Heaven's Sake, I hope I don't butcher his name, but by Dr. Kent Hovind. And that goes into a lot of detail. So I'm not going to quote it or anything, but I'm going to kind of sum up what I've learned from there.
Okay, sounds
good. And then
good.
also just basic history with the world languages.
Okay.
Okay, and a few other things, but ancient languages like the Sumerians and Hebrew and Egyptians and cuneiform, it all dates back to about 5,000 years. And from my understanding, that was after a world flood.
World flood, okay.
So like a whole flood that wiped out the whole world. And the flood's a whole nother topic.
Now, when we're talking about world floods, are we talking about Noah's flood?
I'm talking about Noah's flood. Yeah,
Noah's flood,
just to be direct, Noah's flood. So one of the topics that I like to bring up is for the beginning is the days of creation and everything like that. And I feel like the days of creation were actually like a 24-hour period.
24-hour period as opposed to the thousands of years.
Yeah, because some people think exactly. And the main reason why is I'm using the source, the Bible. And the thing is, like when you read each day of creation, it says on the evening and the morning of the first day there was day and evening.
Day and evening.
There was day and evening on the first day. There was day and evening on the second day. And what that shows me is that's Earth time. Because that's only where you're going to refer to day and evening as Earth time. There's not day and evening in another realm. There's only day and evening on the Earth because the sun's going around the Earth.
Okay.
So that's one of them. And then there's the scientific point of view about the sun shrinking. And if the sun shrinks so much every year, if you multiply that backwards a million years, the sun would be too large for the Earth to even be there. So I even believe that the solar system is only around 6,000 to 7,000 years old.
6,000 to 7,000 years.
Yeah, and
I hadn't really factored those numbers in, but that's why I wanted you to speak on this subject because you've done some research on it.
Yeah.
A lot more than I have anyway.
Yeah, so the research I've done has pointed to that. And then also when I look at like population growth for one thing, since the time of the flood, you only had about 7, 8 people after the flood? You had 8 people?
Yeah, 8, yeah.
Right. So for population to grow there and multiply and multiply and multiply, we're at 1 billion people now. If it was older than like, say, 5,000 years, we would have like trillions upon trillions of people. If the planet was millions and millions of years old, there would be like trillions and trillions of people because it's just multiplying every single year.
Yeah, so what you... So even with all the, the plagues, the famines, the wars, you're saying that based on population alone, the Earth can't be much older than 6,000, 7,000 years, just based on just based on population. Okay, right. I had never really considered that either.
Yeah, and so also if you look at the to go back to the Hebrews kept a calendar. From that time. And their calendar roughly says we're at the year 5,779, if I'm not mistaken.
5,779,
yeah. Yeah, it just started.
I want to kind of circle back to one of the things that you said. You were talking about the size of the sun.
Yes.
Now, from what my research has shown me, is that most people base on the Copernican theorem where the sun is actually, the Earth is actually revolving around the sun.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I don't necessarily agree with that because of the research and some other personal experiences that I've had. So, and what I'm basically talking about is the flat Earth theory.
Okay.
Where we are encased in the firmament and the sun is actually going around a flat Earth as opposed to a ball spinning in space. So just out of curiosity, how does what you said match and or contradict what I just stated?
Okay, so going to the flat Earth theory, which I don't really agree with, but I'm saying that we can measure the size of the sun. They've measured the size of the sun. And even if you believe in the flat Earth theory, it says the sun's closer to the Earth than we really believe it is. Like, it's not 93 million miles.
Right, that's what the flat Earth theory is.
That's what the flat Earth theory is, right? But the sun is still an object that's burning fuel, correct?
Again, I'm so far as the hydrogen the hydrogen explosions that's supposedly going on with the sun.
Right.
I don't necessarily subscribe to that theory. And let me just say, I keep saying theory,
right,
because I don't own a starship. I don't have access to a starship. So consequently, I can't go out and check it out for myself, or anybody that has a starship should contact me
Tesla.
and let me know what exactly is going on, because so far as I'm concerned, all of this is fun to talk about and to discuss, but the bottom line is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Is there a God? Is there Satan? And did Jesus Christ, the Messiah of Israel and the world, did he walk the face of the earth? Did he sacrifice himself willingly for the salvation of human or mankind? Now, that's my bottom line, coming from a Judeo-Christian background. Everything else is just fun to chit-chat about and investigate.
Yeah, and it's totally fun. There's a lot of information we can get into, and later down the road, we're going to touch on the flat Earth theory and everything that. So you had left the question, like, what would I say about that to a flat earther? So what I would say is, well, when we look at the sun, when we see the sun, there's heat. We feel heat, right? Mm-hmm. So we feel light from the sun. So that takes fuel to send us light and to send us heat, no matter what the distance is. You know, if it's 3 miles away, if it's 6 miles away, if it's 900 million miles away, it still takes energy. So the sun shrinks down. That would be my answer to, the flat Earth question.
A flat earther.
So to move right along here to, wrap this thing up, I want to talk about the creation, the beginning. Because the best thing to talk about from a brief history, from my point of view, what I found in my research was in the beginning, the whole creation part, right?
Okay.
So what I find unique is the word Bereshit. I hope I didn't butcher that, but in Hebrew, Bereshit is in the beginning. So you have one word. When you translate it into English, it's 3 parts. So what I see there is, the reference to Elohim. If you look at the actual Hebrew Torah, they reference Elohim in the beginning. Yeah, so Elohim. One God, 3 parts. I've learned from Bereshit, if you look at the actual pictographs, the actual picture writing, the first
ancient Hebrew. Yes.
Yeah. So what I found very interesting is it says, home of the God-man, God himself in 3 parts, wearing a 3-part crown, right? Creator, the Father, the strong right hand of the Father God, the Creator, himself will go to the cross, which is the Tav. The Tav finishes it off, and the actual
Tav, what is
Bereshit, the last letter in Bereshit.
Oh, the last letter in Bereshit.
Yeah, was Tav.
Okay, Tav.
And that's a T, where we get the T from, and it's actually a cross.
It's actually a cross.
So the whole message of the gospel, to me, the whole message of the good news, the whole message of the Torah and the Bible is right there in the first word in 3 parts in English, 1 part in Hebrew.
Well, I want to circle back to that part. You said God, man. Now, doesn't that get into like idolatry? Because we had the giants mating with the daughters of man, and that created a whole new subspecies of creatures here on the earth. So how does this God-man thing work?
That's a very good point. So the God-man, the Messiah himself. So what it's saying is God in 3 parts. The Messiah is the God-man.
The God-man.
The Son of God, the God-man, the Messiah. Yes.
So you're saying that the Messiah was the creator. He was a physical entity. And so could you just kind of, spread that out a little bit for me?
Sure. Well, going back to the Bible, right, or the Torah in the beginning, the first chapter, Genesis, it talks about the heavens, the earth, and everything being created. So the Father himself was in the beginning. He was the creator.
The creator.
Right? And then it talks about the Spirit hovering over the over the waters.
Over the waters,
right?
Okay.
And the Word, because the Creator spoke forth the Word. Let there be light. So that you had the Creator, you had the Word. And if you read the Gospel of John in the Bible, it talks about, in the beginning, the Word was God, the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh. So God in human form.
God in human form.
God in human form.
Okay.
The Creator in human form.
Creator in human form.
Right. So like 3 parts. Bereshit, one God, 3 parts. So God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit.
Okay. Well, even still, I have never really gotten my head around I'm just going to say it like this, the Christian version of the Trinitarian doctrine.
Right.
And from research, it's easy for me to get my head around it because from research, it'll say A, B, and C. But what I'm hearing you say, it's like, okay, it's just one of those things that I'm just going to have to keep on the back burner until I do a little more research and bring it all together. I know the passage in John that you're referring to, but again, like I said, it's never really kind of been dialed in for me.
Right. So if you look at the word in Hebrew, because you check out Hebrew, right? You've heard the word Elohim before, right? Mm-hmm. So what does Elohim mean from your research?
For my research, it's another name for the Creator.
Right.
You know, if we go into all the various names that he has, each one has a specific meaning, and each of those meanings have sub-meanings and sub-meanings. So I have just accepted the fact that there is a Creator.
Right.
He had a physical incarnation.
Right.
And the way that the Christian Trinitarian doctrine has been explained to me, there's a missing piece that I haven't quite put in place to make it all work for me.
Well, in your terminology, you just brought up the incarnation. So that's what I'm saying with the God-man, the incarnation of God into the incarnation of humans.
So how is that different from the giants mating with the daughters of man?
Because it's God himself.
God himself.
Yeah.
Okay,
See, the daughters of man and the fallen race mating with them was a perversion.
A perversion.
It's a perversion. It's a cheap copycat. It's a knockoff. Like when you buy a bootleg movie, you know? Like you can watch the digital copy of the Avengers, right? Or you can go and you can buy it for $2 on the corner from
the guy in the parking lot.
Yeah,
right.
From the guy in the parking lot.
Quality's not so good.
Yeah, the quality's not so good. You can't hear the sound and it's missing parts. Yes.
Okay, well, this is one thing that I'm just going to put this on the back burner and let you continue with your explanation.
So moving forward, the one God, three parts in the beginning, right? So Bereshit in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So then what it says afterwards, I've noticed a trinity of trinities.
Trinity of trinities. Now, are we going back to that Father, Son, Holy Ghost thing?
We're moving right along. We're moving more. So in the beginning was the Bereshit. Okay. And then in the beginning, the heavens and the earth was created. So what that shows me is time, space, and matter.
Okay, now you're talking my language.
Right. So time, space, and matter. Those are three words.
Okay.
Each of those three words has three parts.
Okay, so 3 parts to the 3 words. Okay.
Yeah, so I call it the Trinity of Trinities.
Ah, there we go. Now that kind of dials it in for me.
Yeah, that kind of explains it in human terms and stuff. So what I like about this is it's showing a one God in 3 parts. And to touch on it, matter, for instance, has 3 parts. You have liquid, you have solids, and you have gas.
Yes. Okay.
And if you think about water is matter. It divides into 3 parts. You have ice, you have water, and you have vapor. Okay. And then if you look at space, you have length, you have width, and you have height/depth.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
I'm
looking at a box.
So
you got 3 parts there. And then when you look at time, you have past, you have present, and you have future.
Okay.
So what I'm noticing in the beginning, you have the plan of salvation, God's plan. You have how matter was created, and then when you look at it, it came into creation. So the ancient history of that is whatever created time, space, and matter scientifically was outside of time, space, and matter.
Okay.
So all scientists pretty much agree that, if you talk about the Big Bang, which a lot of them refer to the Big Bang, time, space, and matter came out of nothing. And what I'm saying is my research, when I look at the ancient history, and I go back to the Bible or the Torah, it talks about in the beginning, God created and he spoke light into being.
Spoke life?
Light.
Light.
He said, let there be light. And
let there be light. And there was light.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know what your research has shown us on that, but I'd be interested to know.
Well, the whole thing for my research has shown that in the beginning, there was the Creator. He created all of what I call the celestial beings that existed, and he created the heavens and the earth.
Yes.
And that's the heavens, the earth, and all that is therein.
Time, space, and matter.
Time. Exactly. Well, I'm tracking with you at that point. time, space, and matter. Before he did that, there was just the in the beginning part with all the celestial beings.
Yes.
So when he began everything, that's when the time, space, and matter came into existence.
Right. And those celestial beings, I believe, were created even before the time, space, and matter.
Yes, agreed. We're on track on that one. We're on track on that one.
Yes. So that's a lot of information. I think that's very tying into the supernatural.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because it's a lot more than natural, and it goes beyond. It goes beyond what most people think or even consider. So I would like to thank our listeners and our viewers and invite them to come back and join us next time on the Supernatural and Beyond. And please comment down below, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe. So join us next time.